First we saw the Arab flags, then the Slavic, and then the Central American, now West Africa. This is another region of the world where various countries use incredibly similar flags, namely in the colors they choose to represent their nations. Now, it's important to disclaim that not all West African countries use similar flags. Liberia's, for instance, is totally different, as is Nigeria's or Cape Verde's, although Cape Verde actually used these same colors up to 1992. I'm also including a couple countries in the rough region of West Africa that technically aren't included in the official delimitation of the region, since they also use these flags. Let's use the same structure as the other videos. First, learn which countries use these colors, understand where they come from, and then go through each country to learn when they put those colors into use and why. The green, yellow, and red colors are often known as the Pan-African colors. Many countries throughout Africa use them, but they are in fact the colors of the West African region most of all. They are similarly used as a symbol by many Pan-African organizations or the Rastafari movement, for instance. There's also another set of colors known as Pan-African, sometimes red, black, and green, but they seem less common in African national flags. We won't get into that one here. Today, 13+1 African countries use these colors in their flags. I'll explain the 13+1 logic in a second. These 13 countries are alphabetically Benin, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, the Central African Republic, Chad, the Republic of the Congo, Ghana, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Senegal, São Tomé and Príncipe, and Togo. The +1 is Ethiopia, and the reason why I didn't include it with the other 13 is twofold. First, Ethiopia isn't in West Africa, it's in the east, although roughly across the same latitude. And second, Ethiopia is actually the country from where all these other 13 borrowed their colors. You see, except for relatively brief periods of influence and occupation by the Kingdom of Italy and then Mussolini's Italy, Ethiopia remained outside European control during the colonial era. The only African country to do so, other than perhaps Liberia, which was sort of a US protectorate. They defeated the Italian army at the Battle of Adwa in 1896, ending the Italian protectorate, which would only return later during World War II. As a result, the country drew the admiration of many newly independent states in Africa when the Europeans began to decolonize, either on their own initiative or because the local people began demanding and fighting for it. The adoption of the Ethiopian national colors by many Pan-African entities is a consequence of this, and a way to reaffirm their independence by honoring their African neighbor that managed to maintain it. So now that we know which countries use these colors and where they come from / what they represent, let's go through each of the countries and learn when they implemented these colors and if there were any other reasons associated with the choice. We have to necessarily start with Ethiopia, as their origin for the flag is indirectly the origin for all others too. Today, the flag of Ethiopia uses precisely the same colors. In the center is a blue circle with the national emblem in gold. The predecessor of the modern Ethiopia, the Ethiopian Empire, already used the same flag, only switching the national emblem for a Lion of Judah, a symbol of the Solomonic dynasty dating back to medieval times. The empire existed for a long time, from 1270 to 1974. Over 700 years. And it seems that it was at some point along this time period that they chose their flag, based on the pennants used by military forces and first the Christian Orthodox Church of this empire up to 1870. It seems there were 3 pennants used, one in each color, although it's unclear why these were the chosen colors and what each of them represented. There is a theory the colors had historically been used by Ethiopian Orthodox churches, which attributed meaning to them: red for faith and power, perhaps used more in military context, yellow for the church and peace, and green for natural wealth, likely due to these colors being easy to produce at the time and also common in the Ethiopian landscape. The first national flag was adopted in 1897 when ruler Menelik II ordered it to be made after defeating the Italian invaders at the Battle of Adwa. He chose the template to be a horizontal tricolor of red, yellow, and green, perhaps modeling European flags at the time with the inverted colors, also depicting in the center his own initials in red in Ethiopic language. It's unknown why they chose to flip the colors at some point. Sometimes doing research for videos is difficult, but a good solution that I found is actually the sponsor of this video, Shortform. How many books do you buy that you end up not having time to read? Well, Shortform offers a great solution for this. I myself use it about 10 minutes a day to check out new books I've heard of and see if they're worth buying and reading in full. I've been putting off buying On War by Clausewitz because of how big it is, but reading the summary on Shortform made me want to finally get it, and I'm going into it with a fuller understanding of the topic. It's not about replacing books, it's about enhancing your book reading experience. Whether it's a guide or a nonfiction book, they offer super detailed summaries so that you get all the key ideas. Not only that, they have interactive exercises to help you apply what you learned, and they add smart insights like connecting one author's ideas to another, allowing you to learn about that topic at a deeper level. To get a free trial and an additional 25% discount on the annual subscription, join Shortform through the link in the description, shortform.com/generalknowledge, or just scan the QR code. Now back to the video. So now that we understand where and how Ethiopia got its flag, let's see how all those West African countries also came to use them. Let's go alphabetically again. First, Benin. The flag of Benin consists of two horizontal stripes of yellow and red, with one vertical stripe of green on the left. Adopted in 1959 as their first flag, replacing the colonial French tricolor. Their pre-colonial flags were those of the Kingdom of Dahomey, the country's old name, a red and white flag with a crowned elephant in the center, and another blue banner with elements in green and white. It seems these flags changed for each king and didn't necessarily represent the nation itself. From 1975 to 1990, the country lived under a People's Republic regime, and the flag technically changed to a field of green with a single red star, but apparently it was never seriously used, and in 1990, the tricolor was restored. There seems to be no historical connection to the region's banners, and the choice must reside solely in the homage to Ethiopia. In fact, the three colors were already used in 1946 by the African Democratic Rally, a political party in France which represented the interests of French West Africa at the time of decolonization. Then Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso's flag consists of two horizontal fields of red and green with a yellow star in the center. Adopted in 1984, it also uses the Pan-African colors of Ethiopia, reflecting both a break with the country's colonial past and its unity with other African ex-colonies. After having used the French tricolor, they temporarily used a different flag upon independence when they were still known as Upper Volta in 1960, coincidentally equal to the flag of the German Empire. A horizontal tricolor of black, white, and red, the colors represented the three major tributaries of the Volta River, which flow south through the country: the Black Volta, the White Volta, and the Red Volta. The flag change came at the same time as the name change. I believe the name change was made to use a more African name suitable to describe its native people, the Burkinabes. In the same way they chose a more African name, they chose a more African flag too, using the Pan-African colors. Cameroon is next, a vertical tricolor of green, red, and yellow with an extra yellow star in the center on top of the red. Cameroon was the second country to adopt the Ethiopian colors upon independence in 1975. As many of these other countries, and as is done everywhere else in the world, Cameroon has since chosen arbitrary meanings for the colors, stating that red is the color of unity, yellow the sun, and also the savannas in the northern part of the country, while the green is for the forests of the south. They adopted the tricolor in 1960, first with no stars, then with two, and then moving back just to one. I published a video a while back about Amazonia that explains this star change. Before this, they used the French tricolor and the flag of the German colonial empire in the region. Again, the choice of colors seems to be uniquely in honor of Ethiopia and to have similarity to others in the region. What about the Central African Republic? Despite also using these colors, the Central African flag is somewhat unique in its template, and it also incorporates other colors. It has four horizontal stripes of blue, white, green, and yellow, and one vertical stripe of red in the center on top of those. Also on top of the blue stripe, on the top left corner is a yellow star. The Pan-African colors are present, but so are the French ones of blue and white, an odd and perhaps unique case of an African country choosing to represent its colonial heritage in their independent flag. It was officially adopted in 1958. They temporarily used a different flag green, and yellow during the Central African Empire in 1976 when the president just declared himself emperor, then going back to the original one in 1709 when he was deposed by the locals with the help of the French military. Now let's move to Chad. Chad has an identical flag to Romania, changing only in the tone of the colors, a vertical tricolor of blue, yellow, and red. And it is in fact missing the green from the Pan-African colors. Its inclusion on this list is therefore questionable, also because it's technically not a part of West Africa as a region, but it seems to be listed as a Pan-African flag, so let's still take a look at it. Because similarly to the Central African Republic, and apparently not making it a unique case, Chad seems to have wanted to combine the Pan-African colors with the French ones. Also being colonized by France, they took the red and yellow from Ethiopia and the blue from France, which in this case replaced the green, also using the same template as theirs. It was adopted in 1960, and these seem to be the only differences. The old pre-colonial flags of the region had nothing to do with it, one being brown and white, and the other white and green. The Republic of the Congo also uses these colors, a diagonal tricolor of green, yellow, and red. It's the only Pan-Africanist flag to use a diagonal pattern in its design, adopted in 1959 to replace the French tricolor. Historically, they had other flags, like the flag of Kakongo in the 15th century, the flag of the Kingdom of the Congo in the 17th century, or the flag of the Kingdom of Loango. They also temporarily used a communist flag due to a regime change from 1970 to 71, but then they went back to this one, solely inspired by the Pan-African colors, honoring both Ethiopia and their West African neighbors. Ghana was the first country to adopt these colors upon independence. A horizontal tricolor of red, gold, and green in darker tones than usual, with a black star in the center on the top of the gold, adopted in 1957 and designed by teacher and artist Theodosia Oko. It's impressive how her choice of inspiring the Ghana flag in the Ethiopian colors was likely the cause for these three to become the Pan-African colors. Other West African nations likely followed Ghana's example set by her in choosing them. Although she attributed new meaning to them as well, in an interview she stated, "I decided on the three colors of red, gold, and green because of the geography of Ghana. Ghana lies in the tropics and is blessed with rich vegetation. The color gold was influenced by the mineral, rich nature of our lands. It was called the Gold Coast, and red commemorates those who died or worked for the country's independence. The first flag of the modern Ghana territory was the British colonial ensign known as the Gold Coast Protectorate. Its symbol was this one, depicting the local environment along with an elephant. It's interesting that, as far as I know, the symbol had absolutely zero connection with the Ethiopian flag, yet it uses the same colors, roughly. I guess proof that the choice of colors is truly connected to the representation of the African landscape as well. They adopted tricolor upon independence in 1958, using a 2- and 3-star version due to temporary political unions with Guinea and Mali. When the union ended, Ghana temporarily used a different flag, replacing the yellow with white, but it only lasted until 1966, then adopting the current one. Not only are the colors the Pan-African ones, but the black star is also said to symbolize the emancipation of Africa and unity against colonialism. It's said to have been taken from the flag of the Black Star Line, a shipping line between African regions for African products, which operated from 1919 to 1922 in the region. Then we have the two Guineas, beginning with Guinea itself, a vertical tricolor of red, yellow, and green adopted in 1957. Guinea was a part of that early union with Ghana, so the connection of the colors might be that as well. Their old flags were the French one, the Wasolo Empire flag with red, blue, and white, and the flag of the Imamat of Futayalon, white and green. And now moving to Guinea-Bissau, similar to the flag of Benin in its layout, but switching the red with the green and also adding a black star. This flag was adopted in 1957. Until then, the region used the colonial flag of the Portuguese. The inspiration is said to have come from the symbol and flag of the Joint African Party for the independence of Guinea and Cape Verde, which sought independence of these countries from Portugal. They used the same colors, along with the black star, which stands for the unity of Africa. The party inspired its flag in the flag of Ghana, which, as we saw, likely took inspiration from Ethiopia. Next is Mali, a reverse version of the flag of Guinea. The flag was adopted in 1959, first as the flag of the Mali Federation. They kept it after becoming a country on their own. The ancient Mali Empire, which existed from 1230 to 1672, potentially used this flag, a red field with a gold rectangle in the center. This could arguably be additional influence for the choice of the colors. The vertical stripes are perhaps influenced by French colonialism as well. In fact, the Protectorate of French Sudan, that had nothing to do with Sudan today, Mali used this flag, and the first Mali Federation flag was this one, simply changing the colors to the Pan-African ones. And what about Senegal? Also identical to Mali, but changing in the tones and adding a green star in the center. This is likely because Senegal was a part of that early Mali Federation, so upon separation they kept the same template, adding the star for differentiation. The description of the flag actually states that that pattern was replicated on Senegal's flag as a sign of unity among African countries. French Senegal also flew this flag in 1958, a green field with a yellow star, another case of a local use of 2 of the 3 Pan-African colors prior to the adoption of the flag. São Tomé e Príncipe is next. The pattern on this one is different. A red triangle on the left is placed on top of 3 horizontal stripes of green, gold, green. The 2 black stars on top of the gold likely represent the 2 islands that make up the country. In 1974, when they achieved independence from Portugal, 8 proposals were put forth for a new flag, all of them using the Pan-African colors, some including black in more areas of the flag. The current one isn't bad, but it could have been more unique if they had chosen another option. Proposal 6, for instance, looks pretty cool. And finally, Togo. Using a completely different display and reminding us of the flag of the United States, it's necessarily similar to the flag of Liberia that is also in the region, changing only the color and number of stripes. It has 5 alternating stripes of green and yellow, with the top left canton in red, having a white star inside it. Designed by artist Paul Aoui, the 5 stripes represent the 5 regions of Togo. They previously used the colonial flag of the German Empire and then France, although French Togo actually had a temporary flag of a green field with 2 white stars. While the modern flag may have taken inspiration from that too, along with Liberia and the US, it's clear that the color scheme is also the region's favorite of the Pan-African colors. So, those are the West African countries that all have similar flags, using the colors of green, yellow, or gold, and red. All of them choosing these colors to represent their nations when they regained independence from their European colonists, taking the Ethiopian flag as reference due to their country's resistance to colonialism, although sometimes indirectly through Ghana, which was the first nation to do so. Many of these regions were colonized by the French, who had a strong presence in West Africa. Perhaps that's a completely unrelated thing that also unites them, but perhaps it took some role in all of them choosing similar flags as well in order to demonstrate their similarity amongst themselves due to this common trait, or they just chose to do so because they're all in the same region of Africa. It's interesting to see how, for instance, in the Slavic flags, many countries could trace the colors not only to the Pan-Slavic influence, but also to old medieval flags in their regions. This doesn't seem to be the case for West Africa, where usually the sole influence are the Pan-African colors, in addition to sometimes the colonial flags. Which other areas of the world have countries that use similar flags? Let me know in the comments, and I can make the next video of this series about that. Thanks so much for watching this video. Subscribe if you want, and I will see you next time for more general knowledge.